Now, Ukraine has come under massive attacks in recent nights. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that some of the West-supplied air defense systems are out of ammunition. Russia is striking cities across Ukraine with missiles and drones, and Ukraine's entire power generation network has been hit by the Russian forces, knocking out thousands of megawatts and forcing the country to impose emergency electricity restrictions. Now, Ukraine's energy minister has said that over the past year, Russia has carried out about 612 attacks on the energy sector, and the bombardment shows no signs of slowing down. In such a critical juncture has come the admission from Volodymyr Zelensky that Ukraine is running out of ammunition to counter the Russian bombardment. The hardest hit areas include Kiev and also its surrounding regions, Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and the frontline communities. Now, this is how the Ukrainian capital looks like at the moment. Pitch darkness, no street lighting, and it's only the headlights of the vehicles which are now illuminating the dark streets. Schools in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev, will close until the next month. Kiev has said that the campaign has forced the rolling outages and emergency cuts to cities across the country as repair crews work under fire. In the capital, temperatures are hovering at around minus 10 degrees Celsius, and Ukrainian officials have warned that a cold snap could further strain the country's energy system. While energy workers are repairing the damage, the icy temperatures are making it extremely difficult, and replacement equipment is running out. Now, Ukraine has declared an energy emergency following sustained Russian attacks on its power infrastructure. And now Ukraine's energy minister has ordered the state companies to ratchet up the imports from abroad. In the latest statement, Moscow says that it considered calls by some European states to resume dialogue with Russia. And French President Emmanuel Macron and the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni have both recently said that they were in favor of re-engaging with Moscow. The dialogue between the EU and Russia has been virtually frozen since Moscow launched its full-scale offensive on Ukraine in 2022, with the bloc imposing huge sanctions and travel restrictions on Russia. In the latest, the European nations are divided. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has ruled out talks with Moscow, while other European nations say that they are ready for a meeting with Putin. Now, Zelensky has said that documents for a deal between Ukraine and the United States on the war in Ukraine could be signed at Davos next week if the terms are agreed. A Ukrainian delegation is traveling to the United States for the negotiations on security guarantees and a prosperity package in the event of a ceasefire. All right, now joining us from the United States of America, we've got retired Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, who's a military expert and also the host of Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. Now, Colonel Davis, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this is a pretty dire, admission by the Ukrainian president, who says that the air defense systems are out of missiles and other ammunition. Considering the way this war is going, what do you make of these statements that Volodymyr Zelensky is making?
Well, I mean, he's just saying out loud what has been self-evident on the ground for quite some time. They may not be out of ammunition right now, but because the stockpiles from the West have been so far depleted, there aren't large numbers of weapons and ammunition and missiles for any of these other countries to give to Ukraine. So they've been having to basically ration them and be very select on when they use them and when they don't. And of course, that just means that their ballistic missiles and their Garand drones that have been coming over the strategic drones that they have been having increasing success rate getting through, because Russia can produce more than they need so that they can always overwhelm whatever's left. And Zelensky admitting this is simultaneously admitting that our capacity to make them is insufficient to sustain this war much longer, because Russia continues to expand their capability. So you can just do the math and you can see the profound results. Right now, according to Ukraine sources, the capital Kiev is dark 17 out of every 24 hours. Some areas are completely cut off. You have Kharkiv City, 400,000 residents are without any power at all. Odessa and Dnipro cities also severe shortages, and these things are only going to increase.
Right.
It's not like the West has a bunch of these missiles and they're just holding them back. They don't have them, so there are conclusions to draw.
Interesting. Now, Donald Trump wants Volodymyr Zelensky to agree to effectively to all the maximalist positions that Vladimir Putin is putting forth. But the European allies of Volodymyr Zelensky seem to be backing him pretty stoutly. But here's the thing. Why is it that the Europeans are not able to come to the rescue of Volodymyr Zelensky? Is it just all talk and very little action on the part of the Europeans? Or is it that they are simply incapable of assisting an ally at a time of its need?
Well, I mean, you really hit it on the head here. Back before our stockpiles in the West were depleted to the level that they are right now, in April of 2022, there was a comparatively good negotiated deal on the table that would have benefited Kiev much more than the deal on the table right now. But the West wouldn't do it. They said, no, keep fighting because maybe we can win. Then, of course, in 2023, had the offensive that was a complete disaster. Then the West should again have recognized we don't have the wherewithal. Ukraine doesn't have the manpower to win this war, so let's have a negotiated settlement. But they wouldn't do it. Now here we are in 2026, where it's even more painfully obvious on the ground, in the air, and in the defense industrial base sectors, there is no chance for Ukraine to avoid a defeat. And so to resist even the maximalist positions, the negotiated positions by the Russians, means that, and they said this just in the last 24 hours, that if they don't get those deals, the maximalist negotiations, they're just going to take it on the battlefield, and it'll be worse than negotiated deals. That's what the West still hasn't come to grips with.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Colonel Davis, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you.